Hey everyone, how you doing? This is Amon Green, Premier Packers all-time leading rusher, and you're watching Packers Total Access Live, your daily source for Packer content. Go Pack, go!
What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Joined alongside Jacob in Wisconsin. We got Tim in Green Bay here to talk some Packers. As, man, it was a wild day across the NFL. More players getting cut, more players entering the trade block, I guess you could say, or hitting the trade block as they're looking to change unis and potentially go other places. Gents, how we doing tonight, man?
Very
Wonderful.
happy to be here, man. Lying season is officially upon us, and we're also seeing some, reality set in with a lot of moves. So I'm psyched to talk some ball tonight.
Yeah, we got a lot to cover. Jacob, how was your day, dude? You doing all right? I like that hat, by the way, man. It's clean.
Throwback.
This is one of my favorites. Yeah, I'm doing well, man. I got to crunch in a couple podcasts today, which hasn't been the case lately. So I got some information as well that hopefully we can talk about. And there's a lot of a lot of NFL type news. Maybe we'll cover that, I'm sure, as we get into this episode here.
Yes, sir. Let's start with Patreon tonight, okay? Because we kind of neglected it the last few days with all the different news headlines dropping here. So let's start here with Johnny in the old Patreon group. And again, if you guys want to join the Patreon group, just go to patreon.com/PackerFan Total Access. We got multiple chats in there for you guys to engage with each other and also ask questions for the show. We do giveaways throughout the year as well, not just the season, but the off season as well. So scan the QR code in the upper right, we'll send you to the same place. Appreciate everybody over there. Johnny says, if players are released before free agency, the players become free right away. Can they be signed before the 12th of March? That is correct. Yeah, if someone is completely cut out right the way I understand it, they can be signed immediately. Now, obviously, that contract won't kick in until the new league year, unless for some reason a team would want to go, hey, we'll just give you money this year. I've never heard of that happening. So that is how that rolls there. Josh Martin says, so with DK requesting a trade and would cost us $18 million, who would you rather have for $18 million a year, DK or Davante Adams? For me, it's DK. He's younger and can stretch the field. So I want to ask your all's take on it, and then I've got some stats that I can hit on real quick and just kind of compare and contrast between the two. But how would you guys answer that question there? Oof. If they were both $18 million a year is what it sounds like, right? If you could get them both.
I'm taking Tay.
Take Tay? Okay. Yeah. Jacob, how about you, man?
That's a really tough question, to be honest.
Oh, it's not that tough. Stop it.
You're
going to look me in my eye and tell me Tay Adams comes back to Green Bay or it's DK Metcalf making his Packer debut on a 1-year rental contract. Stop. Come on.
I agree.
You want Tay back here. You know you do.
I do want Tay back here. I just don't.
I'm putting the damn pressure on Jacob.
I don't want to pay either of them $18 million. But if I'm going to have to stretch for 18, I would look for more potential and more upside. But I'll be honest, I do side more towards Tay. For some reason, I just think that Dak is a paper tiger. Or I'm sorry, DK is a paper tiger.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's start with yards per reception. All right, we've already talked about yards. DK Metcalf finished the year at 992. Actually, let's just hit it real quick. 992 for DK. Davante Adams finished with 1,063. So he actually finished with more yards than DK. That kind of caught me by surprise a little bit. DK, in terms of touchdowns, only had 5 touchdowns. Davante Adams finished the year with 8 touchdowns. So advantage Tay again. Go ahead, Jacob. You got something?
No, I was just going to say that's more, Clayton.
Yes, sir. That is more. You're
8
correct.
is greater than 5. Yeah.
Yes. Sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes. Yards per reception. Now, here's where it gets a little bit different here. All right. DK Metcalf, 15 yards per reception, as Josh said here in the Patreon group. I feel like he could stretch the field a little bit more. So DK averaged 15 yards per reception. Davante Adams only 12.5. Somewhat close, but advantage DK there, right? The catch percentage was what really kind of stood out to me. Davante Adams' catch percentage was 60.3% last year. So that means the balls thrown to him, he caught 60.3% of those balls thrown to him, right? DK caught 61.1%. So you think,
well, you know what? Neither of those are
65%.
65%. That's what that is correct, Tim. But I'll tell you who did exceed 65%. It's amazing. I'm in a multitude of chats. I don't know how the hell I ended up there, but I'm in a bunch of Twitter chats. Like, people have added me to groups, and I just kind of sit back and observe most of the time. And the same people who are saying get rid of Jaden Reed are the same ones just clamoring to get DK. Jaden Reed, they're done with. They're just the drops are just.
What the hell is done with Jaden Reed?
Jaden Reed's catch rate, guys. You know, Mr. Drop last year, 73.3%. I'm still trying to figure out where people are coming up with this Jaden Reed hate. It's not like, okay, the season's over, it's dwindled down. They're still standing on that hill, and it blows my mind because you're on one side you're saying go get DK, go get Tay, right? And out of the other side of your mouth, you're saying Jaden Reed's a bust, trade him. Like they were literally saying trade Jaden Reed for DK Metcalf. Like, what are we talking?
Jaden Reed has played 2 seasons of football.
Right.
Like,
and
relax.
Here's the thing. Jaden Reed finished with 857 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns on only 75 targets. DK Metcalf finished with 992 yards receiving on 108 targets, and only 5 touchdowns. So, again, I'm still kind of holding pat that I'd like DK for the right price. If you look at it like a 1-year rental, here is one thing you will get with DK, I think, over Davante Adams, is you're going to get a DK that's playing for that next contract. Davante Adams everyone is expecting him to take a step back this year. And listen, a step back might just be 900 yards receiving, 800 yards receiving.
A step back for Tay is probably average,
But if DK goes out there and really ups his game, I can see where some people would say, you know what, for a year, even if we don't re-sign him, if we give up a 3rd or a 4th round pick for him, we got him for a year, and he's just playing outside of his mind trying to get that next contract, there is some motivation there. I can kind of understand that. Now, when in terms of separation, right, the average target separation here, okay, 2.6 for DK. Jaden Reed was 4, by the way. Davante Adams, where are you at again, sir? Davante Adams. I need to get this more organized here. Davante Adams, 3.2. So when we say DK can stretch the field, that's all well and good. He's got the speed to do it. How come Davante Adams has had more separation? Because he's a better route runner. You understand what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So I think it's pretty close. The only difference between the two is the market value for Davante is showing little under 14 million, and for DK it's showing 27 million. Like,
DK is a little younger, right?
Right.
And
but here's
probably the bigger target, but like you said, certainly not the more skilled route runner that Davante is, for sure.
Mm-hmm. I did a poll question on X. I haven't even checked it. Let me check it real quick. And here's the question I asked. I said, Green Bay Packers fans, would you be willing to pay $25 million per year for DK Metcalf if he were a free agent? 54.9% said yes. 45.1% said no. So a good chunk, now, albeit a minority of the fan base, but still it's pretty darn close to 50-50. 50% of the fan base, 45.1% of the fan base is saying no, I wouldn't pay him $25 million. So now I'm kind of looking at it like it's being reported by a couple of different people that there is one team that's willing to give up a 3rd round pick for DK Metcalf. Now, the only team that's really been linked to him has been us through the Seahawks beat guy, right? That, obviously with Locked On. And what if the plan is give up a 3rd round pick, Jacob, just to have DK for 1 year? That might be the realistic plan. And then, of course, if you trade for him and then he signs somewhere else, I think you get a comp pick, don't you? Because he was on your roster the year before. So
what if he holds out and doesn't want to play on the deal?
See, that's the thing too. A team is not going to trade for him unless he agrees to play for the current deal or the deal that they've agreed to restructure with. So that's the other aspect of this. And the fact that we haven't heard anything leak out that the Packers are, were trying to come up with a contract for DK, to me that doesn't kind of seem like how Goody does business anyway. You know what I mean? So
yeah, that, like you said, giving up a 3rd round pick to take a shot for a year with DK, it's like I'd rather give Goody the 3rd round pick in his holster, have him, make a pick, and we'll see how that rookie pans out after 1 year, rather than losing that draft capital to, like you talked about last night. We know what we're getting with DK Metcalf, and that's not a knock on his game at all. It's just, I just don't, I don't see the value in giving up draft capital for an aging guy at the end of his contract.
Yeah, Drew D says you can only get comp picks for players that play out their contract and walk. He would still be playing his contract out, Drew. Are you saying that if a player is traded to a new team, they play that contract out and then they walk, you don't get the comp pick? Specify for us as quick as you can, because I know you understand a lot of this stuff. You dive into it a lot deeper than I know I do most of the time. So, Jacob, you got anything else to add there? That conversation, that vein we were in just now.
I mean, I'd see a lot of chatter and just right there with J. Cole, just a lot of people saying just draft Higgins, whatever it is, and get it over with. I do think that I would rather just build through the draft as possible. I just don't like paying this much money for guys that, for whatever reason, I mean, you can't argue that DK has natural freak ability, that he's got all the intangibles. You can't argue that Tay has a storied past and can be a precision route runner and all this stuff. But, a 3 to 4 year contract where we're paying the guys basically nothing, and to have some new blood and to have a whole resurgence on the offense is something that I would value a lot more than trying to make these kind of shoot from the hip type stuff that I feel like the fan base is really putting a lot of pressure on Goody to just do something. And I don't want us to do something. I want us to do the right thing. Right. And I will say that
I just remember Jimmy Graham and Sammy Watkins.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. The podcast I was listening to today, the PFF podcast, they were talking about winners and losers from the draft or from the combine. And Jaden Higgins was one of their top winners, if not the top winner. And they said that he basically solidified himself as a will get drafted in the 2nd round. And they also premised it saying that the only way they could see him sneaking into the 1st round, and the first time they'd see it, would be 23 with the Packers. And I thought, Tim.
Meet with him. And let's assume that Goody's board looks like ours. Jaden Higgins is in the 52 spot. Ahead of him that the Packers met with, wide receiver wise, let's just go off of that. Matthew Golden, he's in the 37 spot for us. All right. And then ahead of him, is there any other wide receivers? I don't think they are. There's no other wide receivers the Packers met with ahead of him, to the best of my knowledge. They did meet with Colston Loveland, who's the 15th best. He's a tight end, though. So, yeah, if he's the best player available, the best wide receiver available when they pick at 23, then who knows, man? That might be – who was it that said that, Jacob, now?
That was Trevor Sikkema, I believe, from the PFF podcast.
Yeah, he's with the 33rd team now. Is that right?
No, he runs the PFF podcast now.
Trevor Sikkema. Okay, so he replaced those.
He took over Sam and yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. Drew D says correct. Trades and cuts don't give comp picks, so you wouldn't get a comp pick if you just let them walk after trading for them. So they've got to play out their entire contract with you in order to get a comp pick, according to Drew here. So thank you for that info, Drew. Appreciate you, buddy. What's this? Say Coach in Loveland 3 times and Jake will appear. I might have to go watch Candyman tonight, man. Chris N says, I don't think DK will play without a new deal. He said that here in the questions for the show. Yeah, I think it would be silly to do that. I do, man. I think that would be – now, how bad does he want out of Seattle, right? That's the big thing, too. The fact that they formally requested a trade, that says a lot. So, let's see here. Josh Martin says, Jaire and a 4th for Trey Hendrickson. I'm sure you guys have heard Trey Hendrickson was granted permission to seek a trade today. I'm going to see if I can nab this section here real quick, and I'll kind of give you all my take on it. And I believe that's all the Patreon questions there, right? I'll just read off my tweet here. We'll keep this up because we got another section we got to get to as well. So, Jaire and a 4th for Trey Hendrickson. All right. Trey Hendrickson, I pulled his his stats here, his PFF grades. Adam Schefter said the Bengals have taken the rare step of granting all-pro tight end or all-pro defensive end Trey Hendrickson permission to seek a trade. It's been an honor and privilege to represent Cincinnati over the last 4 years, said Hendrickson, the NFL sack leader. I love this city and organization. Went on to, show appreciation and everything. So obviously he led the league in sacks last year. Trey Hendrickson did. So the tweet I put out was the NFL leader in sacks, Trey Hendrickson, is officially on the trade block. He's 30 years old and in the last year of his contract, okay? His PFF grades the last 4 years, starting last year and going backwards. 88.1, 82.3, 82.9, 73.4. So here's another edge defender that's just – he's been dominant. There's no two ways about it. My question is, would you rather have him at 30 years old over Khalil Mack? Because Khalil Mack, you can go get in free agency if indeed he makes it to the free agent market here in less than 4 days now. So what do you guys think about that? I'll go ahead and drop this down, actually, and we'll get into something else here in a second. So what do y'all think about Trey Hendrickson, though, man?
I love it personally. That trade I would not be upset about, to be honest.
All right. Tim, what about you, man? How do you feel about Trey Hendrickson? And I think it all comes down to the comp, obviously, the pick, right? The compensation that you would be willing to give up. But
he's 30.
Mm-hmm.
He's 30. And I think everyone is just under the impression that Ja's gone already. And I'm still in that 50-50, 60-40 camp that maybe Jaire plays another year or two in Green Bay. So that being said, I'm not opposed to it because, the numbers are still kind of there as far as the grades and the stats. So you're still improving your team. I'm still kind of on the fence. I'd like to see my boy play a couple more years in Green Bay, but I'm probably in the minority on that one.
Yeah, with Ja is interesting because it's gotten really, really quiet. And the best I can gather, the market isn't there for him. There's not a lot of teams lining up going, hey, we want to trade for this guy. And I think the Packers are holding pat like, hey, we'd like to have him back for the right price. And Ja's camp, I think, is kind of sitting there like, well, this backfired. If he did kind of try to force the Packers' hands and say, hey, I want out. Now, if he wants to really hold their feet to the fire and accelerate the situation, all he has to do is has his agency reach out to an Ian Rappaport or one of the insiders and say, hey, let them know we formally requested a trade. Put that out there, right? Well, why hasn't he done that? To me, that tells me there's at least a chance in Ja's eyes that he sees maybe it is best I stay in Green Bay. I think that's got to be a possibility. Or else, you know what I'm saying, Jacob? Why else would he not just go ahead and, all right, let's just burn it to the ground, let them know we want to trade? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is a little weird. I don't know, man. I know Tim doesn't think Jaire's gone. I'm more to the 80-20 that he is. I'm not fully slamming the door shut or anything. I don't know, man. It just feels like the team and him are just so in opposite directions as to where they want to be with the whole vibe, the way they want to end their career, with the style of play, with him being able to be on the field. It just seems like too many fights, too much bickering for it to be like, all right, now we're cool now. But again, money changes everything, so I don't know if I don't know. So if Jaire thinks he starts looking around the league, if his agents being like, hey man, there's not a lot of greener pastures out there, maybe you should try to smooth this over a little bit. I could see that being a more likely scenario than what's going on now. But I wish it was great. I wish we could slap our hands and snap the fingers and just be like, all right, Jai's back to Ja. Everything's great. Let's move forward. I just don't see it happening.
Yeah, and here's the thing. You said 80-20. It sounds like Jason Wilde is over the 90% mark. Like he's like, yeah, I don't see him coming back. And anytime that Tauscher pushes back, Wilde is pretty adamant, like he feels like that bridge has already been burned. If anyone, I'm sure some of our listeners watch that show every day like I do. That seems really, really, it's like, okay, what has he heard behind the scenes, for it to get to the point where he feels so confident that Ja won't return? And It seems like every year there's something in the locker room where you remember the year before Ja made the comment, I'm going to stop talking to y'all because it gets me in trouble every time. And then it's like, okay, well, you don't have to talk to him. You don't have to. You don't have to make that comment, right? And then last year, exit interviews. Of course, this offseason here, it was I don't have anything nice to say, and he storms out. It's like, why do we keep doing this? If there's any inkling that you want to return in Green Bay, why do we keep saying this stuff? And it's not like you're saying it off the record. You're saying it in a locker room full of reporters where everybody can hear it. You want it out there. But the baffling part to me is why is his agent not just coming out and saying, hey, we formally requested a trade? I mean, unless I missed it. Has anybody else seen that come out? I haven't seen that reported that Ja requested a trade like DK did. That makes sense.
No, we haven't seen that. And it's probably because his representation knows that the market's not super high on him, you know?
Yeah. Love and Football in the chat says bring Hendrickson to Green Bay, so he's on board with Hendrickson for sure. Daryl says Chase Young is 26 only, would be more than willing to play for Halfley. Who did he tell somebody that?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm pretty sure. Well, I shouldn't say that. I'm leaning towards Chase Young staying in New Orleans. That's where I'm at. I don't know how you guys feel about that, but I think the Saints are going to pay him.
I mean, they probably should. Yeah, I would.
Chase Young, let's look at his grades here. So he came in the league in 2020 and was awesome, 87.1. In 2021, he only played 477 snaps, and he dropped to a 75.1. In 2022, he dropped all the way down to 114 snaps with a 78.4. Last year, he at least stayed healthy. He played for Washington. Looked like Washington. I'm sorry, in 2023, San Francisco and Washington. I guess so this is his fourth. This is his third team already. New Orleans.
That's crazy.
Yeah, 74.7 he dipped down to, and then last year he goes to New Orleans. His like I said, his third team, 66.4. And keep in mind that's his overall grade. His coverage grade was 90. We know he's an edge rusher, so that blimped that up just a touch. His pass rush grade was only 66. His run defense grade was abysmal, 54.6. So I'm out on Chase Young personally, unless they're just giving him away. You know, unless they're
that's why I think he stays in New Orleans because New Orleans doesn't have a lot of money to move around. So
that's what they're saying here in the chat is that why they're saying how Saints have no money. Shavink says if Young stays in New Orleans, they're going to have to backload that with void years until 2050. So I don't know, man. I don't. Chase Young, to me, that's such a weird career trajectory, right? You come out. I mean, I remember he was talked about like as if he was the bee's knees, man. And then he came out and he had a great rookie year. And then, like, how are you with 3 teams already and you're not even 26?
There's something there. Edge defenders are too damn valuable, and he had too much production early in his career to all of a sudden end up on 3 teams. There's got to be something there. Got to be. So I heard someone else say he takes plays off. I haven't watched the tape enough to know that.
That's Chris N actually said Chase Young gives up and down effort, in my opinion.
Yeah, there you go. I've heard a lot of people say that. Professor K. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Chase Young is Jadeveon Clowney 2.0, apparently.
I remember the Clowney hype when he came out, man. Holy cow. This dude was going to revolutionize the game. And, man, that he played for a while. He made some money, and I don't think he was a horrible football player, but the expectations were just so high on him. Professor Cake says, I feel like you guys are missing the whole point of DK. This should go good. He is literally the only guy available who can fill in Watson's role. No other wide receiver can. That's an offer can stretch the field. That's on offer can stretch the field. But I don't agree with that at all. Like Jaden Reed can stretch the field. You don't believe me? Look at the statistics. Like you can go to the numbers. Now he played slot a lot for us. That doesn't mean he has to play slot all the time. Like when we talked about the numbers, the yards per reception, Jaden Reed was 15.6 yards per reception. DK Metcalf was 15. Now, you guys want me to blow your mind here? When people were saying he's the only one who can stretch the field like Christian Watson, DK Metcalf averaged 15 yards per catch. Guess how many Christian Watson averaged?
20 plus, probably.
Christian Watson was 21.4 yards per reception. Yeah. So
there's a guy.
Yeah, exactly. DK has not even sniffed what Christian Watson's done when he's on the field, in my opinion. Like when he's on the field, that dude changes the whole dynamic of the offense. This whole notion that DK is somehow this damn superstar, I just don't get it. I don't understand it. Like if he can stretch the field so well, he didn't even crack 1,000 yards last year. Like if he's such a field stretcher, how do you get 108 targets and only have 992 yards receiving and 5 touchdowns? Well, it's a quarterback play. Okay. So Geno Smith wasn't good? I'm confused here.
I'm confused too. When has DK ever had a bad quarterback throwing him the ball?
I mean, it was literally Russell Wilson, right? And then it was Geno Smith, and we know Geno Smith was in the MVP conversation there a couple years ago. So it's like, I don't think anybody's missing the point there, Professor Cakes, to be honest with you. I'm trying to be as respectful as I can, but when you say you guys just don't understand, you're missing the point. No, I think you're missing the point. DK isn't Terrell Owens. He don't get me wrong, boy, and I swear if I see another tweet with him shirt off and Packer fans go, look at this guy. Like, I could give a damn about how ripped he is. What's he doing on the football field? That's what I need to know. And how in the heck is he getting over 100 targets, not cracking 1,000 yards? And his specialty is he's a deep threat. That's all I'm saying. And for $10 million, sign me up. A third rounder and we pay him $10 million a year? Absolutely. $15 million? Yeah, I'll do that. You're talking $27 million a year for a guy that we just named. I mean, we just read off his statistics. That's why Tay seems just as, if not more appealing to me for a year for $13, $14 million, however much he's going to play for. So I don't know, man. I'm trying to piece it together with DK for the right price. I'd love to have him. I think he does make your football team better. But this whole notion that he's just going to take the top off of like he wasn't even the best receiver on his team last year. No. I keep coming back to that because here's the reason I'm getting so kind of animated about it. I read the tweets and I find myself falling into the hype too. Like, yeah, man, DK. And then I go back and watch the tape and I go back and look at the numbers. And I go, this dude, we're talking like he's a 1,300 yard receiver and 13 touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? I just don't see it. So anyway, there you go, Professor Cakes. I like animated Clayton. It's fun. Thanks for putting a quarter in it there, Professor Cakes. All right, so we had another kind of question section from the Patreon group I want to hit on real quick. So Chris N, I'm going to try to read this as quickly as I can, and you guys help me with the name. What is that last name right there, fellas? Dayo
Odeyingbo.
I think he made this up, to be honest with you.
It's Odeyingbo. Yep.
All right. So he says I'm wondering why Good is interested if true. I read an article that said his pass rush percentage was lower than LVN. I know sacks aren't everything, but still in 61 games, he only had 16.5 sacks, including less productivity last season, yet having more snaps. His run defense grade in 2023 was a 49.1 and a 56.8 in 2024. PFF projects next contract to be in the range of 4 years, totaling $66 million with $39.5 million guaranteed. Almost exact initial deal we gave Zadarius Smith. Can he be as productive? I'm going to go try to pull his stats if I can. I don't even know what team he played on, so I don't know how to look it up on let me see if I can just do a player search here. What do you got?
New York Giants, I thought. But...
Was it? Okay. All right, so here we go. Actually, it's showing Indianapolis.
It's here. Colts, actually. Yep. Okay.
All right, so let's look at his numbers here real quick. Quarterback pressure percentage of 2024 was a 12.1%. He had 50 pressures, only 3 sacks. So I don't know what that 16.5 sacks threw me off there. Unless he's talking about, he's talking about over the course of his career. Got it. Okay. So 12.1 percentage, pressure percentage, 50 pressures, 3 sacks. He had 300 run defensive snaps, only 27 stops. Yeah. I don't know why in the world he would be worth that much money, to be honest with you, Chris. Yeah, so I think we're on the same board there. I'd like to know what article it was that you heard him link to the Packers. And that's the stuff, too, that, everybody's putting content out right now. It's, people are firing from the hip.
Ryan did cover that this morning on his podcast. I don't remember the article but he did confirm that there was some sort of murmurs that Deo, and he said basically the same thing. He looked at it and said, he's decent pass rusher. That's pretty much kind of all he is against the run. He's basically booty cheeks. So
got it. All right. And then Jake G126 in the Patreon group said it's impressive how much movement happened in the last 2 days. Trades and free agency went from a little lackluster to quite interesting pretty quick. I can't think of another year, guys, where there was this much movement right before the new league year. There's usually some cuts, maybe a trade or two. This went absolutely bonkers today, man. There we go. Appreciate it, Chris. Packers Wire wrote it. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm with you, man. That seems a little, I don't know. I think it's going to be a no for me, dog, if that's the type of money he's looking to get for sure. So, all right, let's hop over to social media. Anything else you guys want to add to what we've covered so far, and then we'll kind of run through the headlines here real quick.
I just saw Rap Sheet just reported that the Rams are more likely at this point to release wide receiver Cooper Kupp than they are to trade him, per Ian Rappaport.
There you go. And, of course, we talked about Cooper Kupp earlier in the offseason here. Let's see if we can figure out exactly where he landed. Let's just go by yards. Of course, it bonks out here. Go ahead, Tim. What would you think about Cooper Kupp? Obviously, he's more of a slot receiver. Again, when you look at the Jaden Reed and what he's done when he's went deep, I think of that catch in double coverage. I think of him running wheel routes his rookie year. Throw him out there in the Z, man. Probably going to Jacksonville is what Jake Shaving says. Cooper Kupp is probably going to Jacksonville. Tim, what do you think about Cooper Kupp, man? We hit on him a little earlier in the year. I'm going to see if I can find where he's ranking here in yardage and everything.
I could see that since Jacksonville just basically cleaned house.
Let everybody go.
Yeah.
I thought Elon was down there, man. I didn't know what was going on.
What do you do here exactly? No, I'm not going to say anything bad about Cooper Kupp. Dude's a monster, right? Other than the fact that he'll be 32 in June. So getting up there in age, the production I don't think has fallen off, a lot or anything. Nothing to be super concerned about. But as far as where I would see him fitting in LaFleur's offense, I'm sure he'd fit in great. But I like Bird, and I'm going to stick with that. And I can think of probably 5 to 10 other guys I'd probably rather have in Green Bay. Other than Cooper Kupp. So it's not a knock on him. I just it's a no for me.
Fun fact here too, by the way, DK Metcalf 108 targets, Cooper Kupp 100 targets, right? DK Metcalf averaged 15 yards per reception. Cooper Kupp only 10.6. Obviously, he's working out of the slot. Separation, Cooper Kupp was better. And it looks like his catch percentage was 67%. DK's catch rate was, where did you go, sir? 61%. So significantly higher catch percentage or catch rate there as well. So you bring in Cooper Kupp, throw him in the slot, right, for the right price. Of course, to me, he's kind of like there with Devontae Adams. I wonder what his market value is. Jacob, are you done with Kupp? Do you think, I'm just not interested, or how do you feel about Cooper Kupp?
For the money, I'd love my little Cooper Kupp. I think it'd be great. I think that he's one of the best precision route runners that we've seen in this league in a long time. Obviously, a little bit of injury issues, but if he's like, I don't think he's gonna be, but if he's below 13, do you know where Spot Track has him possibly?
11 million is his calculated market.
Bring him in, put him on the board.
Stop it, man! He's going to Duval.
If he goes to Duval too, boy, they have precedent for overpaying receivers. There ain't no two ways about that.
Yep.
Christian Kirk said, "Thank you guys so much. I'll go out of here and get another contract real quick. Appreciate you, sir."
So did Christian Kirk got released, right? And so did Evan Ingram, and they just said that Devin Duvernay is released. And
so there's a name we should talk about.
Ronald Darby as well. They are cleaning house.
We should talk about that Evan Ingram name.
Kirk got traded to Houston. Yeah.
Let's just run through here, okay, the headlines. Kirk got traded. Okay, there you go. Cool. Yeah, they were talking about cutting him, and then Houston came in and said, we'll give you a 7th.
Yeah.
And then immediately somebody said, and Seattle thinks we'll give a 3rd for DK. Like, hold up a minute. Y'all were just talking like he's the second coming of Terrell Owens, and now he's not worth a third round pick, you can't have it both ways. Like he
was the best guy around.
The Los Angeles Chargers release edge defender Joey Bosa. So it's obviously Nick Bosa's brother. I think he's the older of the two, right? If I remember correctly, I want to say Nick's younger than Joey. I could be wrong there. But obviously he started his career off pretty strong. PFF grades 86, 88, 71, 89, 90, 85, 76, 78. Last year, he dipped all the way to a 61. Only played 503 snaps last year, 320 the year before, 203 the year before that. So the last 3 years been a little bit – 2 of the last 3 years, I should say, been a little bit injury riddled there. But Joey Bosa's on the market. There's rumors, or at least people talking, that he may go to San Francisco and play with his brother. How do you guys feel about Joey Bosa, and what does this mean for Khalil Mack? Did they cut Joey Bosa to maybe free up a little bit more room to keep Khalil Mack? You know what I'm saying?
That's what I'm wondering. Do they pay Mack now that they cut Bosa? And I'm just wondering, where did that sharp decline come from? It seems like, really just from, even if you're looking at the last 2 years, has he been plagued with injury or grading out at a 61? That's crazy.
And they went from Brandon Staley as the head coach and the defensive mind, right, to Jim Harbaugh, and I don't know who he had, as his DC. So maybe it was scheme changed him. You know what I mean? Could be that, but he's still getting older though, right? I mean, my goodness.
Yep.
So, Jacob, what do you think about Joey Bosa? Any interest there at all, man?
I do have interest, but it has to be for the right price. Professor Cake said he's played 18 games in 3 years, I think. It would have to be, right there. Bosa's hurt more than Ja. Do you know what his market value would be projected at right now?
That's what I was looking at just now, and I'm not seeing a tab for market value, but let me hop over here to the free agent tab and see if he popped up.
I mean, like you looked at the beginning of that career, like Tim said, there's something. I mean, I believe that would that be 2021? He had a pretty significant injury, and it looks like the next year he probably had another reflare of that injury because he went from playing 500 to 800 to. Yeah, I guess that was a little off year too. In one of the years where he was at the 71.5, then he goes back to 800, then he's back to 500, almost 600, then back to 800, and then once he starts, basically every year that he's dipped below 500 snaps is where his worst years have been.
Mm-hmm. It looks like the chat's pretty much unified here, saying no to Bosa. There's no market value tab here, but if you were to look at Khalil, now obviously Joey been a little more hurt than Khalil, it sounds like. Khalil's 34 years old. Joey's 29 years old. So you would think that Joey, being that he's younger, right, and his average annual value was higher than Khalil Mack's, his previous average annual value, you would think he'd be higher than Khalil, and Khalil's sitting at 23.6. So if that puts Joey at 25, that's going to be a no for me, dog.
Yeah.
Khalil is the only guy that keeps popping up that I'm like, I would overpay for him. I would overpay for him and throw him on the line for a year or two. That's just me though. Moving along, of course, we kind of covered DK. There it was. Diana Rossini was the one who put that tweet out there, said they're seeking a first and a third pick for DK Metcalf. Metcalf is also on a new contract worth around $30 million per year. I know some people scoffed at me in the chat when I said $30 million a year. Where'd you hear that at? It's called math. These dudes are going to get paid if he's one of the top receivers on the market. The receiver market, you guys remember like 3 or 4 years ago, it went bonkers. When Christian Kirk signed, it was like everybody was overpaying for receivers. And I remember on the pod, that was my first year at the pod, I'm like, Bill Walsh 101, wide receiver is the last thing you put in place, and you never overpay for good, you overpay for great. And there were a lot of receivers that were not great receivers getting signed and getting overpaid. That's just kind of how we've seen that. But Diana Rossini was also the one that said there was a team interested there. ML Football tweeted it out and said the Green Bay Packers are the favorites to trade for Seahawks Pro Bowl wide receiver DK Metcalf per Bovada, if I'm saying that right, official, which is a gambling site. So here's the thing. Whether you like gambling or not, they know what the hell they're talking about with odds. That doesn't mean the Packers are going to sign him. But if Diana Rossini said one team has offered a third-round pick, and then gambling sites are saying the Packers are the favorite to trade for him, decent chance decent chance that that's the team she's talking about there. I don't know why people would not. If you've got a source that says, yeah, one team offered a third for us, right? Like, or maybe it was his camp. Why not go ahead and mention that team? You know, it's an anonymous source anyway. So that makes it a little iffy there too. So, yeah, Greg Rice, a first and a third and $30 million. That's a whole lot of note. He's a note dealer in here tonight. He said, nope. Ain't doing it. I'm with you, man. Again, there's too many glaring negatives with that. You know,
Yeah.
It really is. Now, if you want to
round pick and a bag of footballs, I'm down. Let's do it.
If you want to give up a third round pick and let him play on that deal for 1 year, it's a rental for a third rounder, right? And then you turn around and let's say you do trade John, you get a third rounder in return. Okay, you get that third rounder back. And then if it's a perfect fit for DK and him and Jordan just absolutely knock it out of the park, then you extend him. I don't see DK going out there being traded and not getting a new deal. So that's just this was really interesting. I want to click on this article. I don't know if we're going to have time. Spot Track put an article out. Said with DK Metcalf on the block, a look at the trades over the past 10 years involving notable 27 to 28-year-old wide receivers, including the cost, acquired contract, and future outlook for each. You know what? Let's do it. It probably won't pull up there. Let me close this out. Let's just take a quick gander in this. Matter of fact, so we know who had the article there. I'm going to keep that up so we can give him a shout out at Spot Track. Okay. So that's who wrote this article. And I'm not going to read the entire thing. I want you guys to go give him a click and all that good stuff. Here's some of the trades I'm going to read off for you real quick. Okay. The Browns acquire Odell Beckham Jr. from the Giants. Keep this in mind too, guys. We're talking about this potential trade for DK. Think of how many times out of how many of these trades, I'm going to put it on the screen for you. Hell with it. Because it's going to be hard for you guys to keep up with me trying to explain what each of these are. Okay, so let me do this. Let me go